everyone. My name is Yvonne Chaka Chaka. Other children call me Mama Yvonne. Today I'm going to be reading this book for you. The book is called Africa for Smart Kids, and I know all of you out there that you are smart kids. The book is Let's Talk About Yvonne Chaka Chaka, the Princess of Africa, and it was written by Beatrice Acheleke Fonya. Now, the book is about Yvonne Chaka Chaka. I know you are very young to know Yvonne Chaka Chaka, but your mothers and your grandmothers might know her. So, it talks about this 15-year-old girl who has always been eager to know who this Yvonne Chaka Chaka is, because her mother, Beatrice, has told her so many times about Yvonne Chaka Chaka. But she then goes to find this old man called Tandabantu, who is amazing. He's a storyteller. He's well known in the community. He looks after the children. He reads for the children. And Nguise, who is 15 years old, goes to speak to Grandpa Tandabantu. This means he loves people. That's his name, Tandabantu, to tell her the story about Yvonne Chaka Chaka. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nguise and a little bit about Grandpa Tandabantu. So we start. It says, meet your storytellers. Nguise, alele, you're going to tell me what alele mean. Alele, how are you? My name is Nguise, your investigative storyteller for the Africa for Smart Kids books series. Remember, the Africa Smart Books has got lots of series. It says, my conversation with Grandfather Zulu about Mama Yvonne turned out to be engaging, inspiring, and exciting because he knows so much about her daughter Yvonne. Through this initiative, I got to meet and understand, appreciate, and love Mama Yvonne, the Princess of Africa. Thank you for joining Grandfather Zulu and myself in this unique conversation that will allow you to get to know Mama Yvonne from a very completely new perspective. This is Nguise. And then Grandfather Zulu goes, Kunjani, how are you? Usaphila. My name is Tandabantu Zulu. People know me and simply call me Grandpa Zulu. I love being looked upon as a grandfather by children in South Africa and all over Africa. I love storytelling, especially to young people. When I was a child myself, my parents and my grandparents and elderly people around the community used to tell us stories every time. They told us stories about everything that happened when the colonialists came to our continent, about what they did to us and what we had become. I love listening to those stories because they help me to know who I am and understand our history, our culture and our values and traditions. They also help me know our heroes and the vast of Africa and our legacy. The story we are talking about today is very powerful, and it's a very good story of identity. The pride is so big that no circumstances and no one can ever take it away from me. Growing up in apartheid South Africa, it was important for me and my family to know who we were, and it cultivated a habit of being proud to be an African and my origin, and so that I can know my identity. This is probably the reason why I love sharing stories with children all over Africa. It is very important to talk to young people. I love freedom above everything, and I would give my whole life to everything, and if need be, to make sure that no one is deprived of their freedom. As a South African born and raised during apartheid, storytelling for me has been has been and is still very special way of sharing knowledge and experience in my freedom. I think that none of us was born to hate others. We can learn to love one another. It is our daily duty to make our world a better place. And we can do that through what? Tell me. Guise, I can't hear you. Oh, yes, through storytelling. Yes. Now, when Gusa asked me to help her and to talk to her about Yvonne, I immediately said, yes, 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 because I know that there is so much that you and I and everyone can learn. Now, let us begin our conversation. So now you know about Nguse and grandfather who? Tandabantu. Now Nguse is a 15-year-old. She says, tell me, grandfather Zulu, who is Yvonne Chaka Chaka? Grandfather Zulu, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, you mean my daughter? How much time do you have? Nguse, why, grandfather? What does time have to do with my question, if I may just ask politely? Grandfather Zulu, a lot, my child. If you want to know who Yvonne is, we would need plenty of time. We would need plenty of time because it's going to be a long, long, long story. Ngwise, oh, is she that big? Grandfather? Grandfather Zulu says, oh, yes, my child. She's very big, bigger than you and I can really think. Ngwise, okay, grandfather, how about we start now? Grandfather, that is a good idea, Ngwise. You know what? I suggest we first get something to sit down and drink and then eat. How about you getting a jug of water for me? Maybe just put in some mint and lemon. This conversation is going to be a long, 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 long one. Trust me. Ngwese, okay, grandfather, I will go and get water and I'm going to get myself a fruit juice. Grandfather, I'm eager to tell you about Yvonne. Ngwese, me too. I'm so impatient. I really need to know more about her. Let's talk about her. I need to know, grandfather. I prefer to call her Mama Yvonne. Is that all right? My mother taught me that children in Africa call women Mama. They do that because it's a sign of respect, even when they are not their biological mothers. Is that correct, grandfather? Oh, oh yes, oh yes, you are getting very clever, my girl. That is very correct, my child. In African culture, we consider all women to be our mothers, and mothers consider us as their children. There is something very sacred and very special about that, something that is not common in other cultures. However, it is a virtue we Africans have always been and shall always be proud of. Nguise, I know that even though I was born in Europe, grandfather, my mother came from Cameroon and my father is an Austrian. With an English mother, I love finding out about my African roots, about my African identity and legacy. I want to learn more by the time we finish this conversation. Grandfather, I love you for embracing and being proud of your Africanness, just like my daughter Yvonne. Ngwise, then I suggest we get started, grandfather. I'm getting so impatient. I know the woman my mother loves and admires so much. I can't wait. Grandfather Zulu, as I was saying, Yvonne is a great daughter of Africa. She was born in South Africa. She was born on the 18th of March in 1965 in Dobsonville, an area in Soweto, next to Johannesburg. Her parents named her Yvonne Chaka Chaka. Oh, grandfather, Johannesburg is the capital city of Gauteng, and Gauteng is one of the 9 provinces in South Africa. Is that correct, grandfather? Yes, my child, that is correct. Ngwese, grandfather, I know Mama Yvonne is like your adoptive daughter. What are the names of her parents? Grandfather, you know, my child, in Africa, we have a saying that a child is only the child of her mom when she's in her belly. The moment the child is born, it becomes a child for the whole community. So, my daughter, you know, let me tell you, my adoptive daughter, Yvonne, is my daughter. I can call her that, okay? Because we in Africa, we call everybody our children. Oh, Ngoisi says, my mother told me that already, grandfather. It is the same in Cameroon. A child is a child for the whole village, and I love it. Even though sometimes it can irritate or be irritating because even people you don't know call you their daughter. Is that rude, grandfather? Anyway, I wanted you to tell me more about Yvonne's biological parents. Grandfather, you are an inquisitive young lady. Ooh, well, Yvonne, my beloved child, she was born Yvonne Domzodwa Machaka. Her mother's name was Sophie Nomakula Machaka, and her father was Habakkuk Machaka. Does that answer your question? Yes, grandfather. But by the way, grandfather, you know, in Bangwa language, the language that my mother comes from, okay, we call somebody Pandi. Oh, the Bangwas are a very famous royal village situated in the southwest province of Cameroon. Oh, oh, thank you very much, my child Ngwisi. You see, you are also teaching me something now. I'm learning something too, Ngwisi. I also know that malume is used in South African word. It's a South African word, and it means malume means uncle. Is that correct, Grandpa? Yes, my child, that is correct. You are a true daughter of Africa, and I'm very proud of you. Ngwisi, you know, grandfather, in the Bangwa language, we simply say ndo in front of the name to indicate that the person is older. Ndo means big or brother or sister. For example, Ndo Yvonne. It will mean Auntie Yvonne or big sister. Grandpa. My child, I am learning from you too. Can you see? You see, Africa, we learn throughout our lives. Young people can also teach old people, and older people can teach young people. Ngwise. That is called long life learning, grandfather. Now that we are learning, please tell me more. Tell me the names of Yvonne's greatest sisters, grandpa. You know, Yvonne, this born free child. Well, she wasn't born free, she was also born during apartheid. Well, remember I told you that she was born in the townships. She has two sisters. Their names are Doreen and Rifilwe. Her mother, Nomakula, was a domestic worker. She loved her daughters so much that she made sure that they had everything. When her husband died, her daughters were still very young. Mama Nomakula made her mind to raise the children by herself with her little salary. She had a very special relationship with each and every one of her daughters. I've heard Yvonne talk very proudly of her mother. Ngoise, wait, Grandpa, wait a little bit. If her mother was a domestic worker, it means Mama Yvonne and her sisters did not see her very much because she was working for someone else in their house, taking care of their children and keeping their house clean and making sure that their children have food. Is that correct, Grandpa? Oh, that is correct, my child. You know, back then, the only job that black women could do was to be domestic workers. Men mostly worked in the mines. Oh, Grandpa, this is Ngoise. Life must have been very hard for Mama Yvonne and her sisters. Grandpa, well, I like how smart you are, Ngoise. Very, very smart. You know, little Yvonne had to share her mother with the family of the madam for whom her mother worked for. Growing up, she made up her mind that she was going to have a better life. So she could help her mother, who loved her and worked very hard. Seeing her mother work very hard with so little money, that was not enough to provide for her and her children, it pained Yvonne. Did I already say that um, when Yvonne's father died, she was only 11 years old? Oh, yes, I did tell you that. Ngoise, Grandpa, you know, also, my mother told me that in South Africa, children would not play around with other children. Is that correct, Grandpa? That is very true. That made life even more difficult for Yvonne and Mama Nomakula. She would do anything for her children. Yvonne learned many things and many life lessons from her mother, Nguise. So how did she go there to become a world-class musician that we all know and that everybody knows, Grandpa? I still don't understand. Grandfather, you are very, very much in a hurry, my child. One step at the time. One step at the time. You know, as a child, Yvonne loved singing. She sang when she was happy. She sang when she was sad. She sang all kinds of songs like gospel music, traditional music, and even disco music. Even though she did not know that she was going to be a big star one day. But she kept on singing. She knew that singing was the only way through which could express her feelings. Back in the days of apartheid, we black people were not allowed to speak our minds. There were many laws that stopped us from doing such. In fact, there were laws that prevented us black people and our children from thinking and saying the same things like white people did and their children. Yvonne and other black children in South Africa were not allowed to go to the same schools with other white children. They were not even allowed to stay in the same neighborhood. Oh, this is getting too much, my daughter. Nguise, oh my goodness, grandfather, I cannot imagine that. Is that what she really went through? Grandfather, well, we black people were not allowed to buy from the same shops like white people, and black kids were not even allowed to play on the same playground as white children. We were not even allowed to stay in the same areas. There were many, many bad laws, my children, that divided black people from white people, and which and which punished us black people if we did anything not to obey. The system was called apartheid. Nguyse. Ish, grandfather, you know, I like the story, but this is really getting too much. It's really, really frustrating, grandfather. That is correct again, my child. But remember, we are not talking about me here. You wanted to know more about my daughter Yvonne, so let's talk about her. Nguyse. Yes, of course, grandfather. But you see, there's so many ways we can talk about Mama Yvonne and South Africa without talking about you. But you are right. Let's talk about Mama Yvonne. By the way, what exactly was apartheid? I don't understand or know that word. I've heard about people talking about it. Grandfather Zulu. Apartheid is an Afrikaans word that means apart or separation. It was part, it was put in place by the white minority to dominate all non-whites in every aspect of life, especially us black people. We had to carry our identities called dompas with us every time we traveled. And it was very important that that was done. Townships were only places where black people lived. Nguyise. Oh, I am not sure if I would have been happy in that system. How long did apartheid last, grandfather? Grandfather, my child, it lasted for a long time, more than 50 years. Grandfather, oh, Nguyise. Grandfather, that means there were many black people who were born during that time and died without ever experiencing what it means to be free. Is that correct? Grandfather, yes, my child, that is true. Many thousands of people, especially black people, so-called colors and Indians, did not survive that as well. The system was bad. That is the system my daughter Yvonne grew up in. In fact, there were times when some kids followed their mothers to their places of work and stayed in the back rooms of their parents. Nguyise, were they ever taught when they went with their parents to work? Grandfather? Nguyise, grandfather. Oh yes, many times. And each time black kids were caught in their madam's houses, they would call the police. Some of the neighbors would always call something called kwela kwela. Do you know what kwela kwela is? No, grandfather. What is the kwela kwela? Kwela kwela was the van, a police van. Oh, Grandpa, how much did Mama Nomakula earn from the white people that she worked for, if I may ask? Grandfather, oh, my child, like all domestic workers, she was paid only 40 rands per month. Nguyise, grandfather, I think you must have gotten it wrong. You said 40 rands instead of 4,000 rands, or maybe you want to say 40,000 rands. Grandfather, no, no, my child. I mean 40 rands, not 4,000 rands. That is what she got paid per month for doing all the house chores, cleaning, washing, ironing for the whole family throughout the month. Oh, Grandpa, I can't imagine that. 40 rands is $2.30. And it's three, it's €2 and $3. Grandpa, how did she pay her transport, school fees for her children, bought them food, clothing, leisure time, and all those things? Grandpa, well, you are very fortunate to have been born in a different place and in a different time and in a different country, my daughter. That was the reality back then in South Africa. Many of our kids had to work so hard to earn the income to sustain their families. That was the case for little Yvonne also. She used to sell anything at home. She made sure that when her father bought them the fruits, she would not eat her fruits. She will sell them. She would go out and use a stick and sing as if it was a microphone. And people loved her singing so much that they threw away some cents for her. She was always very proud of the money she earned and gave it and shared the money with her sisters. That is how her little business mind worked. Nguyse. Wow, Grandpa, wow. I think your daughter Yvonne got so much of her impressive characters and personalities from her mother. Grandfather, true. And you know what? Even though Yvonne's mom earned very little from her job, the education for her children was very important to her. She made sure that Yvonne and her sisters went to good schools, even though it were in the townships, but they made sure that they had good teachers and the teachers loved their students. Ngoisi, wow, that is fascinating. She is a fascinating woman. I am falling in love with your daughter Yvonne already. And you know what, Grandpa? I think I love Gogo or Grandma Nomakula too. Grandfather, indeed, she is. I think she inherited her musical talent from her father, who himself was a great musician. Unfortunately, he could not sing or he could not be a big musician. It might have been because back then we black men who were not working in the mines did not have many chances to succeed. Mm. At the age of 19, Yvonne started her musical career. She was discovered by a guy called Phil Hollis. He owned a record company called Diffon, and the song was written there and waiting for Yvonne. Yvonne always says she happened to be at the right place at the right time. So she got the deal, and the rest is history. So I'm sure you guys out there have enjoyed. If you want to learn more about all this music, about all the travels, about all the organizations that Yvonne Chaka Chaka is busy doing or have been doing, you need to go and get yourself this copy of Africa for Smart Kids. Let's talk about Yvonne, the Princess of Africa. You will see other chapters, Yvonne, sisters, the schools that she went to, the love of Africa, the organizations that Yvonne works with, and all sorts of things. So the book is in segments. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation between Ngozi and Father and Grandpa Tanda Abantu. With that said, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the reading.